Well, hello everyone, and welcome here to Epping. Nick and Astis with you. It's FNL Gridiron presented by Beals Insurance. Back for another edition, week number 5 on tap, and we will preview our 2 games of the week with 3 different guests over the next 60 or so minutes. My co-host Steve Beals may or may not be joining us at some point. We will begin the show by breaking down the latest New Hampshire Union Leader Top 10 poll, as we always do. 6:15, we welcome in guest number 1. That's Tom King of the Nashua Telegraph and ETV, friend of the program, making his season debut. He's going to help us preview our Friday night game of the week, and that's Nashua North at top-ranked Bedford. We get on the air at about 6:45 with the opening kick coming your way at 7 o'clock Eastern. First of 2 broadcasts this weekend. Saturday, we're in the gate city of Nashua as Bishop Girton plays host to Timberlane. Owls off a big win over Souhegan. Bishop Girton trying to get back on track. So 2 games this weekend, 2 games to preview tonight. And again, Tom King at 6:15 will help us do just that. Zach Matthews at the bottom of the hour, the Bedford head coach, has that team humming. We'll get to more about the Bulldogs in just a moment. And then VG's Anthony Nalen, first year on the sidelines as the head man of the Cardinals. He'll join us at 6:45. So Tom King, Zach Matthews, Anthony Nalen in that order coming up over the next hour or so. However, we begin as we always do with the New Hampshire Union Leader Top 10 Power Poll, and for another week, Bedford is back on top. The defending Division I champions put it on Goffstown, 61-0 in week number 4. That defense registers another shutout. It's 3 of 4 to begin the season, and of course, they ended last season in the tournament with 3 shutouts in 4 games. So all in all, that defense is humming, as we mentioned, and Bedford is now 4-0. However, they were not a unanimous number 1 for the first time this season. Pinkerton garnered 1 vote after a 24-20 win over arch rival Londonderry. That broadcast, of course, can be seen on our YouTube channel, FNLNH Media. We were in Derry Friday night. Pinkerton in a thriller, able to pull it off, their first win over the Lancers since 2018. Pinkerton still unbeaten at 4-0. They will be on the road at Concord on Saturday. That's a 1 o'clock kick. Portsmouth, they jump up to number 3. The Clippers beat down Memorial 48-6 to improve to 4-0. They've got out-of-state competition this weekend on the road at Oxford Hills up in Maine. That's a Saturday affair at 12 o'clock noon. So Portsmouth, Bedford, and Pinkerton atop the poll this week at 4-0. Exeter, well, they're actually tied with Portsmouth at number 3. Bluehawks also 4-0 following a rivalry victory over Winnicott 23-7. That game was close at halftime. However, the Bluehawks were able to pull away in the second half to earn their 4th victory of the season. Winnicott drops to 0-4. Exeter's got an out-of-state opponent on the schedule as well this week. They are at St. John's tomorrow night, a Friday night affair. 7 o'clock is the kick. Londonderry, they fall all the way down to 4. They're actually tied with Exeter at 4. So Bedford, Pinkerton, Portsmouth, 1, 2, and 3. Exeter, Londonderry tied at 4. That's my mistake. Londonderry, a rare in-state loss for the Lancers after the defeat at Pinkerton. They look to rebound at Wyndham tomorrow night. It's another tough test against a top 10 team. Londonderry at 3-1. Salem, they're unbeaten. We saw them on Saturday. That game is up under the video section on our YouTube channel. They held off Wyndham by a final score of 33-28. That game came down to the final play. Salem is 4-0 after just 2 wins a year ago. They will take on Alvern on the road Friday night at 7 o'clock. Dover, they check in at number 7. 2-1-1 are the Green Wave now through 4 weeks. Their latest victim was Spalding as they beat up on the Red Raiders 42-14 in week number 4. They will test themselves at home against Memorial in a conference battle Friday night at 7. Pelham, the defending Division II champions. Boy, you want to talk about defense. Another shutout for the Pythons. They blew out Hollis Brookline 64-0 in week number 4. Hillsborough, Deering, Hopkinton is next up Friday night at 7 as Pelham looks to stay undefeated. Wyndham, we mentioned, despite the 33-28 setback on the road at Salem, they are still in the top 10 and are now 2-2 overall, 2-1 against in-state competition. Again, they square off against Londonderry in Wyndham Friday night at 7. Souhegan rounds out the top 10. The Division II Sabres lost their first game of the season against a Division I opponent, and it was close. 21-20 the final at Timberlane. The Owls with the victory. Souhegan slips to 3-1, and they drop a couple of spots in the poll down to number 10. They look to rebound against another tough opponent this week. Plymouth next up on the docket. That game will be played in Amherst. The Bobcats are 4-0, and that game should be very competitive. So there it is, your top 10 yet again, according to the voters in the New Hampshire Union Leader Power Poll. Bedford at 1, Pinkerton at 2, Portsmouth at 3, Exeter and Londonderry are tied at 4, Salem at 6, Dover at 7, Pelham at 8, Wyndham at 9, and Souhegan at 10. Now, there were some others receiving votes, including Nashua North. The Titans improved to 3-1 after emerging from the Battle of the Bridge victorious. They beat crosstown rival Nashua South 28-15 and get a big second half there for the Titans to improve to 3-1 in Division I West. And again, we will see them tomorrow night at Bedford at 7 o'clock. Timberlane, they received some votes as well as they beat Souhegan, edged out the Sabres by a point, 21-20. They're hoping to crack the top 10. Plymouth, as we mentioned, 4-0. They beat up Laconia 48-12, and will look to go 5-0 at Souhegan. And one team in Division III, that's Campbell, registered a win over Interlakes, 36-0 to improve to 4-0 in Division III. They will take on also unbeaten Trinity Friday night at 7. All right. Quick break. We're back on the other side with our first guest. That's Tom King of the Nashua Telegraph and of ETV. He will help us preview the Nashua North and Bedford matchup here on Friday Night Lights, New Hampshire. So don't go away. Guest number 1, Mr. King, always entertaining on the other side. You are watching FNL Gridiron, presented by Beals Insurance.
Our broadcast today, as it always is brought to you by Beals Insurance Agency, with locations now in both Bedford and Londonderry. Whether you need home, auto, or business insurance, Beals Insurance will get you both the price and quality coverage that's right for you. Just call 603-471-9999 or visit BealsInsurance.com to request a free quote and start saving money today. Again, that's BealsInsurance.com. How can you reach your team's fundraising goals at no risk and no cost? MG Sports offers a variety of products to make your team's fundraiser a success. Their products include tickets and discount cards to hundreds of local businesses. MG Sports now has a digital platform where athletes can raise funds in the comfort and safety of their own home. Don't waste another season. Raise more funds than ever before and become another football program in New Hampshire that sets fundraising records every season. MG Sports, fundraising made easy. Visit mgsportsfundraising.com to start raising money for your team today. The New Hampshire Tomahawks promote the highest level of club lacrosse competition, not just in the state, but in the country. Looking to get recruited? Director Chris Cameron keeps an open dialogue with the nation's top college lacrosse coaches. Over 400 New Hampshire Tomahawks alumni have played at the college level, including the ACC, Big East, Big Ten, Ivy, NESCAC, NE10, and more. The New Hampshire Tomahawks coaching staff has over 100 coaches, including current high school varsity and college coaches. The Tomahawks offer training for players of all ages, clinics, camps, and leagues, along with spring, summer, and fall elite teams. So play with the best. The New Hampshire Tomahawks, showcase and development for college lacrosse. Visit NewHampshireTomahawks.com and girls.nhtomahawks.com.
Hey, I'm Chad, the owner of New Hampshire iPhone Repair. We're New Hampshire's most trusted and affordable repair shop for your iPhone, iPad, iPod, and even Android needs. Don't worry, we're affordable, reliable, and we back our parts with a lifetime warranty. And you know what the best part is? No, what? We can repair your phone while you wait.
I know, that's why I'm here.
Oh, I know, Mrs. Green. Here's your iPad, good as new. Bring your phone into New Hampshire iPhone Repair today.
Buy local and save big. For over 26 years, Spectrum Monthly has been providing great local offers from businesses in New Hampshire and Massachusetts, delivered to your mailbox every month. Spectrum is chock full of savings from your favorite businesses. From local restaurants and retail stores to entertainment, fitness, and home improvement services. You'll have easy access to thousands of dollars in savings, including exclusive offers for Spectrum readers. Every month, enter our readership contest for a chance at winning cash and local gift certificates. Spectrum Monthly, no one brings you better offers.
Back here in the Beals Insurance Studios, Nick and Astis with you. Let's bring him in. Tom King, our first guest, live from the Tom Pound down in Nashua. Tom, how are you?
Not bad, Nicholas. How are you?
I am
Can
good.
you hear me
Looks
okay?
like you got the tarp on the pool, and
yes,
Can
it's a
you hear
sad
me?
sight. Yes, I can hear you fine. It's a sad sight, isn't it? It really is. You know,
It
but
is.
it's I'll have to put up with it for the next 7 months.
Yep, the wet weather did us in,
Yep.
I suppose. All right, what do we know about Nashua North? Us here at Friday Night Lights, New Hampshire, saw their thrilling win against Bishop Girton. That was a couple of weeks back. They held off South, and when the dust settles, they're 3-1 in a competitive Western Conference. Assess this team through 4 weeks under head coach Chad Zabolis.
Slightly above average. That's how I would put them right now. They're still a work in progress. Offensively, I think they're still looking to try to get some kind of fluid offense going. Defensively, they're very aggressive. So they can cause a team defensive problems, especially in the backfield, led by Darius Smith. He's a great pass rusher in the same theme as Toby Brown Jr. last year. Probably still has a little bit more to learn. He's only a junior, but still, he learned under Brown Jr., and he's very good. He can cause a lot of problems in the backfield. Offensively, the kid you got to watch, and he won't get a ton of touches, but he'll make something happen with them on both sides of the ball, is Luke Peters, the junior, and the younger brother of Jack Peters. He's coming into his own, Nick. He had a 101-yard interception return last Friday night against Nashua South in the play that really changed the entire game. And, and he did it also against BG with an interception in the end zone on the last play, basically essentially the last play of the game, to seal that win and preserve that win. And he caught a long touchdown pass that night, and he also had a long pass reception the other night against Nashua South. So he can do it on both sides of the ball, but he's not a kid that's going to carry the ball 20 times a game. He's smaller. You don't want to do that to him. So they're going to use him in various roles, and he makes big plays. But, boy, I'll tell you what, this Bedford defense, picking right up where they left off last year, they have yet to allow a touchdown. So against an offense that is still trying to find its way with a new quarterback, John Canaway, and just trying to get a running game on track and get things going, it might be a tough one for Nashua North on the road at this stage. Maybe 4 weeks from now might be a different story, but right now this could be a tough game for North.
Yeah, it looks like that on paper for sure, as Bedford continues to put up some gaudy totals, as we know. We were hoping to speak with Coach Zabolis tonight. He's got an open house, so I suppose you are, by default, the Nashua North expert.
I can coach him. I'll coach him up, Nick.
What are some of the things that they can do in your mind to at least stay competitive and maybe give them a shot on the road tomorrow night at Bedford?
Well, I think the passing game, it's not bad. It's pretty good. I think that they can get that passing game going. The one thing that I think that, and this is throughout the area that I cover, especially with the Division I teams, there's no breakaway runner. There's no player that's going to break into the backfield, except for maybe Peters, depending on where he gets the ball. but there's nobody that's going to make people miss and then just take off for 30, 40 yards. We were spoiled, with Curtis Harris Jr. We were spoiled with Curtis Harris Lopez. I'm sorry. We were spoiled with, other Derek Finley last year, the North quarterback, before he got hurt in that playoff game against Bedford. So there are some things that we aren't seeing this year yet from a lot of players and a lot of teams in the area. And I think that's one thing that North could really use tomorrow night if they can get somebody to break free and get into the secondary.
Turning our attention to Saturday's affair, and I'm sure we'll see you there Saturday night. We got another game to cover. That's, of course, Timberlane at Bishop Girton. Results kind of up and down, really, for both those teams. I think Timberlane gets a pretty signature win, even though it was against a Division II team in Sauhegan. That's got to give them a little bit of a bump, I would think, in the locker room. And then Bishop Girton, another home game, probably one that they have to get on Saturday night. The Cardinals. Give me that assessment here. We know about McDonough, the quarterback, or we're starting to get familiar with him taking over for Santa Suazo under center. But what else do you like to talk about? What else is noteworthy when you look at Bishop Girton?
They've got a single wing running play that they use with A.J. Holmes, a quick dive type of play. I'm not a football coach. I don't know the terminology, but I mean, this is a play that caused problems for North, caused some problems for Merrimack. Of course, now people are getting prepared for it. If Girton can run the ball, that takes the pressure off McDonough. The key with the Girton passing game is they've got to protect the quarterback. McDonough, had problems against North because he was pressured, which is what North does. So in that game, the mistakes that Girton made were made a lot of times because of defensive pressure. But that's the one thing that Girton needs to do, is to be able to protect the quarterback. And it's more of a passing offense than we've seen in years past, Nick, because, of course, Santa Suazo was a running QB. I mean, he ran first and threw second. Sometimes they even had McDonough go in the game to throw the ball. But McDonough's got a good arm. He's got an accurate arm. He's got some tall targets, Connor Lennon being one of them. Is 6'5". So if they can connect with those guys, that's fine. But against a physical Timberlane team, they're going to have to protect them. And that, I think, is the key. Now, I wasn't at that Timberlane-Sauhegan game. It doesn't count in the standings, but I'm sure Timberlane was motivated, and I think Sauhegan was motivated. But they lost Hickman early in that game. That took away a lot of their physicality for Sauhegan. They weren't able to handle the physical nature, it seems, that Timberlane gave them in the second half. So for Timberlane to shut down a potent Sabre offense, which I think could be good in any division, and hold them and shut them out in the second half, that's going to be trouble for BG if the Timberlane defense rises to the occasion again like that. So that to me is a big key. Now BG feasted on 8 turnovers last week. You get 8 turnovers against another team, you better win that game, and they did when they beat Merrimack 28-7. But I just think that you said it best. Girton needs this game. That loss to North really hurt them because it started them out 0-2, and they couldn't go 0-3 against when they played Merrimack, but they don't want to go 1-3 and then have to go to Pinkerton next Friday. So this is a game I think that the Cardinals really, for their season in terms of playoffs and everything else, I think they really have to have it.
Yeah. We'll speak with Anthony Nalen coming up, first-year head coach of Bishop Girton at 6:45 for a little further analysis of that game. Tom, you mentioned Merrimack. Seems like the Tomahawks are struggling a bit. We saw them in week 2 on that rain-shortened affair against Keene. Coach Jackson, one of the best coaches in the business, in my opinion, but you can only work with what you're given. What's going on with Merrimack, and is there any turnaround in sight potentially for the Tomahawks as we approach the midway point?
Can't protect the quarterback. Sahil Mujawar has been running for his life for the last 4 weeks, it seems. That's been a problem. And also getting into sync because of that pressure trying to get into sync with who is one of their best players is Garen Brown. And that's a guy that I think they need to get Brown more touches, but Mujawar's got to have time to get the ball to him. And they also need to develop a little bit more of a running game to take that pressure off the pass rush, opposing teams' pass rush. So Mujawari is, I like him as an athlete, and Kip says he doesn't want another quarterback, no other quarterback. This is the guy he wants, and he loves the kid, and he's a competitor, fierce competitor. But they've got to make life a little bit easier for him so he can display some of his two-way skills, running and throwing, without having to face a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and that line is still.
Yeah,
that line is still a work in progress, as we know. 4 of the 5 starters are new, at least at the varsity level. So,
and they're big though too, Nick. They're big. They're not small, but they need some cohesion, and they need to be able to to work as a team and in tandem. And like you say, it's a work in progress.
Yeah, that leads me to Nashua South as they continue to try and feel their way through the early portion of the schedule. We're very competitive, as you mentioned, in the Battle of the Bridge. Had North on the ropes. Big turning play there, the 101-yard touchdown off the interception by Luke Peters. Coach Knight is an institution in his own right, over 20 years on the job down there, but it seems like this program has kind of been stuck in the mud, so to speak, over the last few years. What do we see moving forward with Nashua South?
Well, let's go through some of the history. I think this program really hasn't recovered from that Merrimack comeback win in the playoffs in 2020. I think that was a big, big win. It really set a team that was loaded with seniors back. Now, they're hosting Manchester Central on Friday night. All the old-time football fans around here remember the purple against the little green, right? They had some classic matchups. Consider this, Nick. In this game Friday night, combined, going by the rosters, there are a combined 11 seniors. That's all in this game. That tells the story. That is what's going on with both programs. Central's numbers are down. South's numbers don't seem to be that great either, but they're very young. South only has 4 seniors. They missed a class, I believe, probably due to COVID, and that really has hurt them. Now, the flip side is Scott played a lot of freshmen last year, and he's playing some this year. They're sophomores and freshmen that make up the bulk of this team. So that bodes well for the future. But right now they're taking their lumps, although they are competitive. Okay, they are competitive. They're almost right there. But I think that they really need a win Friday. They need to taste a win, get that feel of confidence, get the feeling of winning a football game. And I think that's what they're going to do I think they can do that on Friday night. They've got the talent. They've got some older players that still can lead them. I think their best player, Kyle Emmons, he's a junior, all-purpose back, all-purpose receiver, very good defensively as well. I think he's a guy that they look to, number 8, and I think that's, I think he can be the difference in this football game Friday against Central.
Finally, Tom, across the river, Alvern. Right? Only 1 win last year. They get 2 already in the first 4 weeks. Been kind of an up and down first month under Coach Lee in his first year on the sidelines. But it seems like that program is at least moving in the right direction, right, Alvern?
Yeah, I've seen them play twice. I saw them play Central, and they dominated Central 45-7 in the opener. They looked polished. They looked like a good team. It was still a game in the third quarter when Central scored on a defensive breakdown on a long pass. And that's been one of the problems, I think, for Alvern in the games that I've seen. Their defense in the secondary has broken down a little bit, and with coverages and mix-ups and things like that. But that's just getting adjusted to a new system and a coach, Matt Lee, who's been a defensive coordinator most of his career. So they are better than Alvern teams of the last couple of years. They're a little bit more physical. They're older. And I think that they're much more competitive. I thought they would compete better against Wyndham, but it was one of those things where they made so many mistakes in the first quarter that things just snowballed, and before you knew it, they were down 28-0. For them to go on the road to Malden, Mass, and pick up a win there, I think that says a lot for them. I think that's a nice bounce back from the nightmare that they endured against Wyndham. So in my mind, they can give Salem a run for their money in this one. I think Matt Lee is learning the state. He's learning the schedule. He's learning what works, what doesn't, a lot of things. He's a good coach. Really strikes me as a good coach who knows his kids really well in the short time he's been with them since January. And just like Anthony Nalen does with BG, these coaches really dug right in and learned their players and learned what they like, what they don't like, what works, what doesn't work, and have established their programs pretty well. So I look for good things from Malvern down the road.
Good stuff, Tom. Will we see you tomorrow night in Bedford?
No, I'll be at Stello Stadium. I'll be at South Central, especially if South gets their first win. I think that that's the coverage I think I want to give. So that's where I'll be. So
yeah, we'll see you Saturday night for sure with BG.
Yes, I will be there. Yep, I'll be there Saturday night. If there's a game at Stellos, Nick, I'm usually there. I hate to travel too far from the compound. You know that.
Well, I saw a sleeping bag up there in the press box. I figured it was yours. So.
Yep.
All right, Tom. As usual, we appreciate it. And next time, Steve will be back with me. So we'll have.
I missed it. Where is he? I thought he was going to be here to take a look at the sad scene behind me with the cover on the pool and everything. I guess he just couldn't bear to look at that, right?
So. We didn't want to upset.
Exactly. Yep, exactly.
All right, Tom. We appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
Anytime, Nick. Thanks for having me.
Tom King of the Nashua Telegraph and of ETV. All right, short break. On the other side, Zach Matthews of Bedford. The Bulldogs continue to roll and are the top-ranked team yet again in the New Hampshire Union Leader Power Poll. Coach Matthews on the other side. You are watching FNL Gridiron. It's presented by Beals Insurance.
Our broadcast today, as it always is brought to you by Beals Insurance Agency, with locations now in both Bedford and Londonderry. Whether you need home, auto, or business insurance, Beals Insurance will get you both the price and quality coverage that's right for you. Just call 603-471-9999 or visit BealsInsurance.com to request a free quote and start saving money today. Again, that's BealsInsurance.com. How can you reach your team's fundraising goals at no risk and no cost? MG Sports offers a variety of products to make your team's fundraiser a success. Their products include tickets and discount cards to hundreds of local businesses. MG Sports now has a digital platform where athletes can raise funds in the comfort and safety of their own home. Don't waste another season. Raise more funds than ever before and become another football program in New Hampshire that sets fundraising records every season. MG Sports, fundraising made easy. Visit mgsportsfundraising.com to start raising money for your team today. The New Hampshire Tomahawks promote the highest level of club lacrosse competition, not just in the state, but in the country. Looking to get recruited? Director Chris Cameron keeps an open dialogue with the nation's top college lacrosse coaches. Over 400 New Hampshire Tomahawks alumni have played at the college level, including the ACC, Big East, Big Ten, Ivy, NESCAC, NE10, and more. New Hampshire Tomahawks coaching staff has over 100 coaches, including current high school varsity and college coaches. The Tomahawks offer training for players of all ages, clinics, camps, and leagues, along with spring, summer, and fall elite teams. So play with the best. The New Hampshire Tomahawks, showcase and development for college lacrosse. Visit NewHampshireTomahawks.com and girls.nhtomahawks.com.
Hey, I'm Chad, the owner of New Hampshire iPhone Repair. We're New Hampshire's most trusted and affordable repair shop for your iPhone, iPad, iPod, and even Android needs. Don't worry, we're affordable, reliable, and we back our parts with a lifetime warranty. And you know what the best part is? No, what? We can repair your phone while you wait.
I know, that's why I'm here.
Oh, I know, Mrs. Green. Here's your iPad, good as new. Bring your phone into New Hampshire iPhone Repair today.
Buy local and save big. For over 26 years, Spectrum Monthly has been providing great local offers from businesses in New Hampshire and Massachusetts, delivered to your mailbox every month. Spectrum is chock full of savings from your favorite businesses. From local restaurants and retail stores to entertainment, fitness, and home improvement services. You'll have easy access to thousands of dollars in savings, including exclusive offers for Spectrum readers. Every month, enter our readership contest for a chance at winning cash and local gift certificates. Spectrum Monthly, no one brings you better offers.
It's FNL Gridiron presented by Beals Insurance, live every Thursday night, 6 o'clock Eastern. We've got 2 more broadcasts this weekend. Our Game of the Week schedule looks like this. Nashua North at Bedford. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Coverage begins at 6:45 Eastern. Bulldogs look to stay undefeated. The Titans looking for an upset. Saturday, we're at Stello Stadium in Nashua as Bishop Girton plays host to Timberlane. Joining me now is the head coach of the Bedford Bulldogs, Zach Matthews, friend of the show, back once again in his season debut. Coach, how are you? Well, I can't hear you, Coach. We got him muted, Ben? Let's try it again, Coach. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, now I got you. Perfect. Live from the locker room, by the looks. Coach, let's start with this defense, because the defense continues to post one shutout after another. Of course, this stretch really began last postseason when you had shutouts in 3 of the 4 tournament games on your way to the Division I title. And now to begin the season, only 3 total points allowed through 4 games. What has been the key on the defensive side of the football?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the same formula we used last year with our kids, and they've really bought into kind of some of the pieces that we're preaching. And so we're lucky enough this year to return 7 kids on that side of the ball. So there's a lot of played a ton of football last year and kind of took their lumps at the beginning of the season and learned some valuable lessons. And so luckily we've only had to replace a couple kids on that defense. The system has remained intact. The kids know the system really well. And when you know what you're doing, it allows you to play really fast. And so our kids like to play downhill and the offensive scheme. And I think as week by week goes by, they just gain more confidence in what they're doing.
And you got veterans obviously on both sides of the ball. How big of a relief is that for you and your coaching staff, knowing that there's kids on the field at all times that have kind of been there and done that? Does the experience really help your staff, or how do you factor that in?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got great leadership with our senior class this year. Those guys have played a lot of football, specifically in the offensive and defensive lines. We have a lot of kids who've seen a lot of game experience, and I think at the high school level, most of the high school coaches would probably agree there's no substitute for games, and so that's why a lot of times it's so tough for teams that come out with, sophomores and juniors who haven't seen the varsity field. We've got a lot of kids who have varsity experience. We're not having to make a ton of adjustments on the sideline because a lot of the adjustments are being made on the field by the kids. And that allows us to kind of look at some other things their team is doing and just talk to them when they come off and make some simple adjustments. But, this is their team. This is their defense. We have a base system and then the kids kind of just take it and run with it. And they've done an excellent job at that.
Yeah. Seems like, Coach, growing up in Bedford back in the day, it was always considered kind of a soccer town or a baseball town. Now I would say it's considered a football town. When you break down the program, not just at the high school level, but with the junior Bulldogs and even some of the, even younger when it comes to flag football, et cetera, is football now, in your opinion, a part of the town's DNA over there in Bedford?
I definitely think we're lucky, and as far as the fact we get a lot of community support. And I think that, you see our Friday night games, even our Saturday JHL games. On Sunday, you'll see the youth games. There's really good attendance. And we have a lot of people that it really matters. It's great on a Friday night. You see people whose son graduated maybe 3 years ago, and they're still coming back to the games. Or some people who don't even have a child in the program, but because it's a big event in town, we get a lot of support from a lot of people. So we can definitely feel that. Our kids get excited to play at home. I think that's one of the major focus points this year is, last year, obviously it was a great journey, but we had to spend a lot of that journey on the road in the playoffs. And so that community support is huge. And so for us, we're looking forward to hopefully earning the right to host some home playoff games so that community can keep enjoying watching these kids do what they do.
Yeah. Your quarterback now as a second-year starter, the senior Danny Black, it seemed like to us in the media that he got better almost game by game last year as a junior. How big of a jump has he taken now that he's a senior, and what has he still got left to learn, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, I think that obviously ending last year the way we did, Danny got a lot of experience. And I think that coming into this year, again, I don't mean to kind of beat a dead horse here, but he knows the system. He knows what the expectations are. And so now we're kind of, instead of starting at square one, we're able to kind of take it from where we left off last year, right? Some new concepts and challenge him with some of his reads. So I think as far as we're concerned, Danny does a lot of good things. I think the part where he will hopefully improve as we go here throughout the rest of the season is just getting the ball out of his hands quicker, trusting the fact that the receiver is going to be where he thinks they're going to be. And throwing a little anticipation, I think, is going to be a big aspect for him as we start to face some of these better defenses in the league.
Your son has been a big part of the team's success so far, just a sophomore, but has had some pretty impressive stat lines and is obviously a key cog in that offensive machine. Are you surprised personally on how productive he's been through 4 weeks as just a sophomore, or is this more what you expected?
Not to talk specifically about him, but our sophomore class in general is really talented. And, Bennett's a part of that. We're lucky that kids like Bennett and Brody Hilton, Clarity, and Brendan Krause are all starting for us as sophomores, which is, to be honest, is rare for us here at Bedford High School. And it really has nothing to do with a lack of depth within our program. It's just usually sophomores aren't good enough to get on the field here a whole lot. And to have 4 kids that are starting on one side of the ball for us as sophomores is an impressive thing. It's a different side of coaching this year that I haven't really had to manage before. It's different having your kid on the team. And so it's been a lot of fun watching him kind of do what he's able to do. And to be honest, I lean on a lot of my assistant coaches. We're going to try to treat all of our players the same way. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to be there. It's obviously every parent loves to be close to the action. And I feel like I've got the best seat in the house when I get to watch him do what he loves to do.
Yeah. It must make you proud, I'm sure, because he's playing like a senior right now as a sophomore for sure. What do you attribute that to, Coach? The fact that you've got so many good sophomores for the first time in a long time at the varsity level. What's behind that success and that development for those kids?
Well, you mentioned some of the pieces. We do have a community that loves football. And so when you talk about the feeder system that we have, there's a lot of people that take invested in on. We have meetings with our youth coaches, kind of talk about some of the things we do systematically and schematically. It's not always easy for high school coaches to get on the same page with your youth coaches and your junior high coaches. And we're not perfect here, but I think we do have some good collaboration within the community. And these kids football program for a long time, even when they were younger, these are kids who some of them have had older siblings come through the program. But they've spent their time around the game and they love Bedford football. And so, one of the biggest things for us that we try to preach to our kids is no matter who you are, like the best 11 are going to get on the field for us. And so we have very competitive practices. We have a lot of kids and that's a good problem to have. It allows for that competition week in and week out, and kids push each other to get better. And it just so happens that this year we have some younger kids getting on the field, but that's an opportunity we always like to provide to our kids, is that if you're one of the best 11 guys, regardless of what class you're in, you're going to find a spot on the field.
Finally, Coach, tomorrow night, the opponent is Nashua North, another home game for you guys. What are some keys? What should we watch for up in the booth tomorrow night?
Yeah, a lot of respect for what Nashua North does. It seems like every year, I know they lost a lot of kids from their group last year, but athleticism kind of jumps off the screen at me when I'm watching film. And so they've always got some really athletic kids. I think this team this year is definitely driven by their defense. In a lot of ways, I said to our kids, it reminds me a little bit of our team last year. Early in the season, I think last year we were playing really good defense. We were trying to figure some things out, other pieces like that. But I watched this Nashua North team and they fly around on the defensive side of the football. They play with great intensity. They play with great energy. It's most definitely the best defense we will have seen yet. So that'll be a tremendous challenge for us tomorrow night. Obviously, is to move the ball consistently against what they do. They're pretty aggressive. They like to bring pressure at you and kind of dictate the pace of the game to you. So that's something we obviously know really well, because that's what we like to do to other people. So that'll be a tremendous challenge for us. And then, for us defensively, they've just got athletes all over the field. So we're going to have to tackle well in space. We're going to have to be disciplined, because when you have really good athletes that touch the defensive system, one person is slightly out of position or somebody misses a tackle, and that can turn into 6. So we're going to have to be where we're supposed to be, and we're going to have to make some really good plays and limit their opportunities.
Coach, appreciate it as usual. Looking forward to seeing your team in action tomorrow night. And thanks again for joining us here on FNL Gridiron.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Thanks for having me on. Look forward to seeing you guys here tomorrow night.
Thank you, Coach. And again, Zach Matthews, the Bedford Bulldog head coach. Reminder, we're on the air tomorrow night, 6:45, ahead of that 7 o'clock Eastern time kick. The top-ranked Bedford Bulldogs playing host to Nashua North. All right, let's bring him in right now. Anthony Nalen of Bishop Girton. He's the first-year Cardinal head coach. He's got his club at home Saturday night taking on Timberlane, and there he is, live from the office. Coach Nalen, how are you?
Good, yourself?
Good. We appreciate you coming on short notice. Before we break down the team, let's go over your background a little bit. You're a Massachusetts guy. How did you make your way in the offseason to Bishop Girton? And I suppose just bring us up to speed on how exactly that process went down.
Sure. So I'm coming over from Lunenburg High School in Central Mass. I was there for 3 years. We had a pretty successful run there. We ended up winning a league championship this past year. I live in Tewksbury, Massachusetts with my wife and 4 kids. And when this job opened up in the off season, I thought it was a really good fit. I'm a Catholic school graduate of Pope John in Everett. And understanding, the mission from the academic side as well as the athletic side, I thought it'd be a good fit. And being able to sit down and talk with, the administration and Mr. Brown, the athletic director, I thought it was a really good fit for me and my family. And I thought it was a place that it had a good, strong structure and something that you could build upon. And so I thought it was a really good move. And obviously in taking that, I was able to meet the players and see the type of program that they've built up to this point and hopefully pushing that forward.
Yeah. Spoke with Tom King, the senior staff writer at the Nashua Telegraph, just a few minutes ago, actually, earlier in the show. And he said that you kind of dove right in, right, in terms of meeting the players, et cetera. How did that kind of meet and greet process go? Take us through the first couple of days of practice. Were there any liaisons from the players who may have approached you? I mean, how tight of a knit is it at this point with you, your staff, and the players here in year number 1? And how did it get to this point?
Yeah, so obviously during the interview process, there were players in the interview committee. Hearing what they expected out of me as their head coach was obviously a plus, and understanding what they were looking for. Being able to sit down with them in early February and figure out what motivated them, what allowed for them to be successful. There's obviously obstacles from year to year if you're a returning coach. When you get to a new program, there's even more, whether that's how to motivate players, which ones do well in certain situations, which ones do well in others. So being able to roll that out and having a plan in the offseason was important. The players got new terminology. They're hearing different voices in the locker room now. So a lot of that had to go through the core players. And so we have a good group of core players that were a part of some successful years, the last 2. And so being able to have that connection with them and then they're kind of a second voice to the coaching staff was important. We had a really good offseason in terms of the weight room. We lifted 5 days a week. We had good attendance in there. And then that rolled into being in during the summer, whether it's 7-on-7s or passing tournaments and the offensive linemen getting work, we really dove into that and got us to a point where August 11th, we were able to hit the ground running.
Yeah. Now, as a first-year head coach, new program, et cetera, I'd imagine you'd have to make some decisions on what stays and what goes, right? What is going to be your thumbprint versus some of the things that were left over that worked that you want to keep building upon. How do you make that decision? and how much of this 2023 BG squad is from Coach Nalen, and how much was left over from the previous regime?
Sure. So obviously there are some traditions that they do, whether that's pregame or things during walkthroughs that we like to keep because it's continuity within the guys and they feel comfortable doing that. We don't want to disrupt those things. There's obviously things that we do, whether it's pregame chant or how we get through our pregame stretching. Things are obviously different, but in terms of understanding what they're going to get out of us in terms of our thumbprint on it. We're looking for a team that's fast and physical, that can play all 4 quarters for 48 minutes. And obviously every coach has a different way of doing that. And so there's no right or wrong way as long as your guys are bought in and playing hard and physical and respecting the game of football.
Obviously, the relationship between head coach and quarterback is a special one. Mike McDonough is your senior starter, rock solid QB. What is your relationship like with him now a month into the regular season?
Yeah, I think the relationship started right from day one in February. Mike was in the weight room all offseason, even though he plays lacrosse on a really good lacrosse team. He was there during the summertime with the receivers, getting some continuity with them and concepts down. He's a question guy. He's a 4.2 GPA student. He's very smart, asks a lot of questions, tough as nails. And, it's one of those things where each and every day you kind of grow and you put yourselves in a position as a quarterback and coach where it just evolves over time. It's not something that you can expect, whether that's, Mike had a pretty tough game against North, battled back, then ended up having a really good game against Merrimack. And throughout that whole process, he knew that as a staff and as a program, we trusted in him, and vice versa, he trusts in us. So I think that there's steps along the way that allow for us to have that relationship, but we got a really good one.
Who are some of the other players, Coach, that have stood out in your mind so far?
Yeah, Cody Zemansky, number 2, he plays safety and wide receiver. He leads our team in receptions and yards. He also leads our team in interceptions. He's getting some FCS looks at the next level. He's a real good player. Good locker room guy too. Real good student athlete, embodies that, and so he's a good role model for our guys. I'd say on the defensive side of it, I think you got kids like Diego Mendez, who's doing a really good job trying to help rebuild that offensive line that we lost 5 guys on. So, there are some new guys in there, and so guys like Diego and Cody are really doing a good job of helping us out.
Saturday night, Timberlane comes in. Is this a must-win? I know it's only week 5, but as we start to look at the standings and begin to predict playoff seeding, et cetera, is this a big one, or how big, rather, is this game Saturday night in terms of wins and losses moving forward against Timberlane?
Yeah, I think anytime you're playing in D1 New Hampshire, every game is a must-win. There's so many competitive games. We're not going to change what we do, though, and how we approach the game. We're not going to play tight, and we're going to do what we do, and we're going to execute the game plan to the best of our ability. But, yeah, obviously, when you look at the standings and you see what's coming up next after that in Pinkerton, certainly you want to get this one and move yourself forward in a better position for playoffs.
All right, a little more of a lighthearted question. How have the tailgates been so far? Because that Bishop Girton tailgate is about as good as it gets in the state. How have you enjoyed it so far?
Yeah, so the Merrimack food tasted a lot better than when we played North. I'll say that. But yeah, they're awesome. The community's great. Like I said, the administration's great. They're always there too. It's a great environment and a community that you want to coach for. Yeah,
and you said you got 4 kids, right? Are they young?
I do. Yep. Yeah, my oldest is actually at Malden Catholic. He's a freshman. And then hopefully the other 2 end up coming to BG.
Okay, good stuff. We'll keep an eye out down the road for the little Nalens. Coach, appreciate it. Appreciate you coming by. Good luck on Saturday night. We'll be there up in the booth. And good luck moving forward as well. We appreciate the time tonight.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you. Anthony Nalen, first-year head coach at Bishop Girton Cardinals. Tough task at home Saturday night. They'll take on Timberlane. Of course, we'll have that coverage beginning at 5:45 ahead of that 6 o'clock Eastern time kick. But Bedford North will precede that. That's a Friday night affair. We'll be on the air at 6:45 tomorrow night from the Doghouse, Bedford High School, for that one, as top-ranked Bedford looks to stay undefeated. I want to thank our guest tonight, Tom King. Always a pleasure, a gem when it comes to New Hampshire media. Of course, he's the senior staff writer at the Nashua Telegraph and one of the broadcasters at ETV. We appreciate Tom. Zach Matthews of Bedford, always good stuff from the Bulldogs head coach. And Anthony Nalen, we welcome him aboard, first-year head coach with Bishop Girton. If you missed any of the interviews, do not panic. The shows are archived and they're up for you to watch anytime on our YouTube channel, FNLNH Media. Again, Friday Night Lights New Hampshire on YouTube at FNLNH Media. For our director, the man behind the curtain, Ben Beals, my name is Nick Anastas, saying so long. We'll see you next Thursday for another edition of FNL Gridiron right here on Friday Night Lights New Hampshire. We are presented by Beals Insurance.